Welcome to ILTV's Israel Daily. I'm Ladarga Velazian. Coming up in today's newscast. Another report surfacing that Iran is behind recent tensions and aggressions against Israel. And credit rating giant Moody's warns of a possible downward trend but does not lower Israel's credit rating. And Israeli technology once again making its way to space, and this time to Jupiter. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Sunday paid his condolences to the D family in their home in Efrat.
It's a horrible thing, but you have to have a new beginning after the end, and that's very hard. I know how hard it is, but it's possible.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Sunday paid his condolences to Rabbi Leo D. and his 3 children in their home in Efrat. Lucy D., his wife, and Maya and Rina, his 2 daughters, were murdered in a Palestinian terror attack while driving on vacation in the Jordan Valley last week. Rabbi D. told the Prime Minister about their aliyah to Israel from the UK and said that if his late wife would have been asked, she too would have replied that she had no regrets about the move.
No, we're here. We are, we're going to move forward, and we'll remember them forever. But we're resolute and looked at the situation and said, I don't regret coming to Israel one moment. Still do the same thing. As she would say that.
Probably will fade over time, and the memory will always be with you. Oh, that until your last days, your last moment, that memory will be with you, and then they will live inside it.
Netanyahu noted that unfortunately the land of Israel is acquired through trials and tribulations, and told Rabbi D that now your wife and daughters will live within us. He also consoled one of the surviving daughters, Tali D, drawing up his experiences of the loss of his own brother, saying that while the pain they felt now would remain throughout their lives, it would not always remain as intense. Netanyahu was accompanied by the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, his military secretary, and cabinet secretary. And moving on, Iranian aggression is rearing its ugly head on a number of fronts. The Iranian president openly addressed Hamas terrorists for the first time, only days after its Revolutionary Guard coordinated murderous attacks against Israel. A Wall Street Journal report claims that Iran directly coordinated the rocket fire at Israel earlier this month from Lebanon, Gaza, and Syria. ILTV's Steve Leibovitz reports.
It was an unprecedented move for the Iranian president, delivering a virtual address directly to the Hamas and Islamic Jihad terrorists in Gaza. His message was ominous. President Ebrahim Raisi told hundreds of terrorists gathered in Gaza attending so-called Jerusalem or Al-Quds Day events that Iran would raise its level of involvement in armed attacks on Israel. It turns out it had already done so. During the ceremony, Hamas leader in Gaza, Yahya Sinwar, celebrated rocket attacks on Israel from southern Lebanon, Gaza, and Syria. This in recent days following the pretense of the police raid on the Temple Mount, incited by Palestinian rioters holed up in the mosque with weapons. According to the Wall Street Journal, Iran is now directly coordinating attacks on Israel. The report indicates that the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, Quds Force, directly coordinated Hamas rocket attacks from areas in Lebanon with Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah. The Revolutionary Guard is a U.S.-designated terrorist organization. Earlier this month, 34 rockets were fired from southern Lebanon into northern Israel, injuring 3 people and damaging several buildings. Most of the rockets were intercepted. Volleys of rockets were also launched by Hamas from the Gaza Strip that same day. In an interview this weekend, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu pointed the finger directly at Hezbollah and insisted that Israel retaliated by hitting Hezbollah targets in Lebanon in addition to Hamas. In recent years, Israel has acted to counter Iran's entrenchment near the northern border by conducting multiple airstrikes on Iranian targets in Syria. Strikes late last month attributed to Israel in Syria killed at least 2 Revolutionary Guard military advisors.
And joining us now with more on Iran and its ambitions for regional hegemony is Dr. Mordechai Kadal, researcher at the Begin Sadat Center for Strategic Studies and an expert on the Middle East. Thank you for joining us. So Iran has become increasingly aggressive against Israel and increasingly involved on Israel's borders. This is something it has sought out to do for years, but why the escalation now?
There are several reasons which accumulated during the last couple of months. One is the Ramadan, which is always a reason for tension between Muslims and others. What happened on the Al-Aqsa Mosque also, where the police actually attacked those rioters in the Al-Aqsa Mosque in the eve of the Seder some 10 days ago. And the weakness which they feel from Israel because of the petitions of the pilots and some sailors and other soldiers who said that they will not volunteer to the army unless the Knesset stops legislating laws which they claim against democracy, as they claim. So don't forget also what happened last October 2022, when Israel was forced by Hezbollah, under Lapid, of course, were forced by Hezbollah to sign the maritime borders between Israel and Lebanon according to the Lebanese demand. And Lebanon got everything, means Hezbollah got everything, while Israel got nothing from that agreement. And this also gave Israel a very bad image. And if you very weak image, and if you combine all these reasons, you can understand what makes the Iranians feel much better. You can add to this the fact that Saudi Arabia during the last couple of weeks actually changed its orientation from being loyal to the West, like America and NATO. Now they joined the Eastern Bloc, means Russia, Iran, China, North Korea, Venezuela.
That actually leads me,
Hamas is also part of this.
So that leads me to my next question, because we are seeing Iran reopening its embassy in Saudi Arabia, for example, after the two countries reached a deal brokered by China. And reports today indicating that the Saudis will be hosting Hamas senior officials as well. How big of a blow is this to Israel? The United States has clearly dropped the ball when it comes to the Abraham Accords. Is peace with Saudi Arabia still a possibility?
Less than it was, and it was not a big chance, because the Saudis still remember what the Iranians did to them in the morning, early morning of September 14, 2019, when the Iranians attacked two giant facilities of the oil of the Saudis, and they actually paralyzed some 50% of the Saudi ability to export oil for a couple of months. And the Saudis, because of that, did not join the Abraham Accords, and they behaved all this time according to the Iranian dictates, because Saudi Arabia is a very weak country when it comes to military force. They did not succeed to deal with the Houthis in Yemen for 8 long years, with the Houthis, people who are barefoot militia in Yemen actually almost destroyed Saudi Arabia. And the Saudis couldn't deal with them. And since Saudi Arabia is a weak country, and the Iranian, Russian, Chinese, North Korean alliance is today the rising force in the world, while the West, America and Europe are in decline. So Saudi Arabia said, if you cannot beat them, join them. So they joined the Iranian, Russian, Chinese alliance in order to be protected from their wrath.